Picture this. You're weaving through narrow alleyways on a buzzing motorbike. The intoxicating aroma of pho broth and fresh herbs filling your lungs, while neon signs in Vietnamese script flicker above street vendors selling steaming bowls for just 50 cents. The humid air carries the sound of laughter, the clink of beer bottles, and the gentle hum of a city that never truly sleeps. This isn't just a vacation fantasy. This could be your everyday reality. Because here's the mind-blowing truth that travel influencers don't want you to know. You can live an incredibly rich, adventurous life in Vietnam for less than what most people spend on rent alone back home. We're talking about a full lifestyle, great food, amazing experiences, vibrant social life, and yes, even romance. All for around $600 a month. Sounds impossible? Stick around, because what you're about to discover will completely shatter everything you thought you knew about what it costs to live well. Vietnam sits like a stunning emerald dragon along the eastern edge of Southeast Asia, stretching over 1,000 miles from the Chinese border down to the Gulf of Thailand. But this isn't just geography. This is your gateway to a life you never imagined possible. The moment you step off that plane, whether you land in the bustling chaos of Ho Chi Minh City or the more refined elegance of Hanoi, you're hit with a sensory overload that will rewire your brain forever. The air itself tells a story, thick with humidity, tinged with the smoky sweetness of street barbecue, and carrying whispers of jasmine from hidden gardens tucked between concrete buildings. Let's talk about first impressions, because Vietnam doesn't just greet you, it embraces you with the intensity of a long-lost friend. Ho Chi Minh City, still lovingly called Saigon by locals, pulses with an energy that makes New York feel sleepy. Imagine millions of motorbikes flowing like a mechanical river through streets barely wide enough for two cars, yet somehow everyone navigates this beautiful chaos with an almost telepathic understanding. The skyline tells the story of a nation racing toward the future while keeping one foot firmly planted in its rich past. Gleaming skyscrapers rising behind French colonial buildings that have weathered decades of history. But here's where it gets interesting. While Ho Chi Minh City represents Vietnam's ambitious future, Hanoi whispers stories of its ancient soul. The capital wraps you in layers of history so thick you can practically taste them. Picture yourself wandering through the Old Quarter, where every narrow street specializes in a specific trade. One street entirely devoted to silk, another to traditional medicines that have been mixed the same way for centuries. The lakes scattered throughout the city are not just bodies of water. They're the lungs of the metropolis, where elderly men practice Tai Chi at dawn while street vendors set up for another day of culinary magic. And then there's Da Nang, the coastal gem that perfectly balances urban sophistication with beach town relaxation. Here, you can grab a morning coffee overlooking the South China Sea, spend your afternoon exploring marble mountains that look like something from a fantasy novel, and end your evening with fresh seafood that was swimming just hours before it hit your plate. The beaches stretch for miles, with sand so fine it feels like walking on powdered silk, while the nearby mountains provide a dramatic backdrop that changes color with the shifting light throughout the day. The climate becomes your constant companion in Vietnam, and like any relationship, it has its moods. The tropical warmth means you'll never again worry about heating bills or winter coats, but you'll develop an intimate relationship with your fan and learn to appreciate the art of the afternoon siesta. The rainy season transforms the country into a lush, green paradise where waterfalls appear overnight and the air smells like fresh earth and blooming flowers. During dry season, the skies turn brilliant blue, perfect for those Instagram shots that will make your friends back home seriously question their life choices. But what really sets Vietnam apart isn't just the geography. It's how this landscape shapes the rhythm of daily life. Early mornings belong to the market vendors and the coffee drinkers, the streets filled with the gentle sounds of preparation for another day. Midday brings a slower pace as the heat builds, and evenings explode back to life with street food vendors firing up their grills and families gathering on tiny plastic stools for dinner. This isn't just a place you visit. It's a lifestyle that naturally draws you in and makes you wonder why you ever thought you needed so much space, so many possessions, so much money to be truly happy. Now, let's dive deeper into what makes Vietnamese culture so magnetically appealing, especially for those of us coming from the individualistic West. Vietnamese culture operates on a beautiful principle that might initially puzzle Americans and Europeans. The collective always comes before the individual, but somehow this creates more personal freedom, not less. It's like discovering a secret society where everyone genuinely cares about your well-being, and in return, you naturally want to contribute to theirs. Family isn't just important in Vietnam. It's the gravitational force around which everything else orbits. Multi-generational households aren't a sign of economic necessity. They're a celebration of wisdom, support, and shared responsibility. Imagine never having to worry about childcare because grandparents consider raising grandchildren their greatest honor. Picture never facing old age alone, because caring for elderly parents is not an obligation. It's a privilege that brings families closer together. This interconnectedness creates a safety net that makes the low cost of living even more meaningful, because you're not just surviving on $600 a month, you're thriving within a community that ensures no one falls through the cracks. The hospitality will absolutely blow your mind, especially if you're coming from cities where neighbors don't even make eye contact. Vietnamese people have elevated kindness to an art form, but it's not the superficial politeness you might encounter elsewhere. This is genuine warmth that extends from simple interactions with shopkeepers to being invited into someone's home for dinner just because you looked lost on a street corner. There's a phrase in Vietnamese, tin nguoi, which roughly translates to human compassion. But the English translation barely scratches the surface of what it means to experience this firsthand. Here's something that might surprise you. Vietnamese people have mastered the art of balancing tradition with modernity in ways that would make Silicon Valley executives jealous. You'll see grandmothers expertly using smartphones to video call family members while simultaneously preparing traditional meals using recipes passed down through 5 generations. Young professionals might spend their days working for international companies in gleaming office buildings, then return home to neighborhoods where the evening ritual of street food and socializing has remained unchanged for decades. The concept of face plays a huge role in daily interactions, but before you roll your eyes thinking it's all about ego, understand that this is actually a sophisticated social system that promotes harmony and mutual respect. It's about maintaining dignity, yours and others, in every interaction. This means you'll rarely encounter aggressive confrontations, road rage, or the kind of public arguing that's become commonplace in many Western cities. Instead, disagreements are handled with a subtlety that maintains everyone's dignity while still resolving conflicts. Let's talk about the daily rhythms that you'll fall in love with. Vietnamese people have perfected the art of living in the moment without sacrificing productivity. The day begins before sunrise with the magical symphony of market preparation. Vendors arranging colorful displays of fruits and vegetables, the gentle sizzle of the first batch of pho being prepared, and the soft conversations of early risers sharing coffee and gossip. By 6 a.m., the streets come alive with a carefully choreographed dance of motorbikes, bicycles, and pedestrians that somehow flows smoother than rush-hour traffic in most Western cities. The midday break isn't just about escaping the heat. It's a cultural institution that prioritizes rest and reflection over constant productivity. Shops close, families gather for lunch, and even in busy cities, there's a palpable shift toward slower, more mindful activities. This isn't laziness, it's wisdom. Vietnamese people understood work-life balance centuries before it became a trending hashtag. Evenings transform every neighborhood into an outdoor living room. Tiny, plastic stools appear on sidewalks, families cook and eat together in spaces that blur the lines between public and private, and the social fabric of the community strengthens with each shared meal and conversation. This is where you'll discover that entertainment doesn't require expensive venues or elaborate planning. It emerges naturally from the simple pleasure of human connection. The coffee culture deserves special attention because it's not just about caffeine. It's about philosophy. Vietnamese coffee drinking is a meditation, a ritual that forces you to slow down and savor the moment. The traditional drip method takes time, which is exactly the point. You can't rush it, so you might as well sit back, watch the world go by, and engage in the kind of meaningful conversation that's become increasingly rare in our hyper-connected world. But here's what really makes Vietnamese culture special for expats: the genuine curiosity and openness toward foreigners. Unlike some destinations where tourists are seen primarily as walking ATMs, Vietnamese people are genuinely interested in cultural exchange. They want to know about your country, your family, your thoughts on Vietnamese food, and yes, they absolutely want to practice their English with you. This isn't just politeness, it's a countrywide enthusiasm for learning and growing through international connections. Now, let's talk about something that will completely revolutionize your relationship with food. Vietnamese cuisine isn't just about eating, it's about experiencing life through your taste buds, and doing it all for less money than you'd spend on a single meal back home. We're talking about a culinary adventure where a mind-blowing feast costs less than a coffee at Starbucks, and the quality is so extraordinary that you'll start questioning everything you thought you knew about good food. Pho isn't just soup, it's liquid poetry. Picture this: you're sitting on a tiny plastic stool at 6 a.m., surrounded by locals heading to work, and a steaming bowl appears before you that contains an entire universe of flavor. The broth has been simmering for hours, developing layers of complexity that would make a French chef weep with envy. Tender rice noodles cradle paper-thin slices of beef that cook gently in the hot broth, while fresh herbs, cilantro, Thai basil, mint, add brightness that wakes up every sense. A squeeze of lime, a dash of fish sauce, maybe some chili oil if you're feeling adventurous, and you've got a breakfast that costs 60 cents but delivers an experience worth $60. But Phi Ho is just the beginning of this incredible journey. Banh Mi represents everything beautiful about Vietnamese ingenuity, taking the French baguette, a colonial leftover, and transforming it into something uniquely Vietnamese and absolutely extraordinary. The bread alone is a masterpiece, crusty exterior that shatters at first bite, revealing an interior so light and airy it practically floats. Then comes the magic: silky pâté, savory grilled pork or chicken, pickled vegetables that add tangy crunch, fresh cilantro, cucumber, and chili that brings just enough heat to make your taste buds dance. The entire symphony of flavors and textures costs less than $1, and it's better than sandwiches that cost 15 times more in Western capitals. Let's dive into Bun Cha, because this is where Vietnamese cuisine shows off its sophisticated understanding of balance and harmony. Imagine sitting at a sidewalk stall where the air is thick with the smoky aroma of grilled pork patties sizzling over charcoal. The meat arrives at your table accompanied by a bowl of clear, sweet-savory dipping sauce dotted with pickled vegetables, plus a basket of fresh rice noodles and an enormous plate of herbs and lettuce. You build each bite yourself. A few noodles, a piece of grilled pork, fresh herbs, all dipped in that magical sauce. It's interactive dining that engages all your senses and creates a meal that's as much about the experience as the flavors. Here's something that will absolutely blow your mind: egg coffee. Yes, you read that correctly. Vietnamese creativity took coffee and elevated it to dessert status by whipping raw egg yolk with condensed milk into a creamy, custardy foam that sits atop strong Vietnamese coffee like a cloud of pure indulgence. The first sip is revelation. Rich, sweet, caffeinated, perfection that costs about 75 cents and tastes better than desserts that cost 20 times more in fancy restaurants. The contrast between the bitter coffee and sweet, creamy egg mixture creates a flavor profile that's completely unique and utterly addictive. But the real magic happens in the way Vietnamese people approach eating. Food isn't just fuel. It's social glue, family bonding, cultural expression, and daily celebration all rolled into one. Meals are communal experiences where dishes are shared, conversations flow freely, and eating becomes a form of meditation that forces you to slow down and appreciate the moment. Those tiny plastic stools that might look uncomfortable at first become your favorite dining chairs because they put you right in the middle of the action, surrounded by the energy and warmth of Vietnamese street life. The affordability is almost surreal when you're coming from Western prices. A full meal that would cost $30 in New York or London, complete with multiple courses, fresh ingredients, complex flavors, and generous portions, costs $3 in Vietnam. Not $3 for a discount version, but $3 for the real deal, often prepared better than expensive restaurant versions elsewhere. You can eat like royalty every single day on a budget that would not cover lunch money back home. Street food culture also means incredibly fresh ingredients because vendors can't afford to let anything sit around. Everything moves too quickly. That bowl of pi chow you're enjoying? The herbs were picked this morning, the noodles were made fresh today, and the broth has been lovingly tended for hours. The fruit smoothie that costs 50 cents? The mangoes were literally hanging on trees yesterday. This isn't just affordable food. It's affordable food at a quality level that most Western cities cannot match at any price point. And let's not forget about the social aspect of Vietnamese dining. When you're eating at street stalls and local restaurants, you're not just a customer. You become part of the community. Vendors remember your preferences, other diners strike up conversations, and meals naturally extend as the social experience becomes as nourishing as the food itself. You'll find yourself lingering over meals not because the service is slow, but because the environment is so welcoming that leaving feels premature. The learning curve is part of the adventure too. Vietnamese cuisine introduces you to ingredients and flavor combinations that don't exist in Western cooking, expanding your palate in ways that will make you a more adventurous eater for life. Fish sauce becomes your new favorite condiment. Rice paper wraps replace bread in your mental food hierarchy, and you develop a sophisticated appreciation for the balance between sweet, sour, salty, and spicy that defines Vietnamese cooking. Now, let's address something that draws many Western men to Vietnam, but let's discuss it with the nuance and respect this topic deserves. Vietnamese women have earned a reputation for beauty, grace, and strong character that goes far beyond superficial stereotypes. And understanding the dating culture here requires appreciating the complex blend of traditional values and modern independence that defines contemporary Vietnamese society. Vietnamese women embody a fascinating contradiction that Western dating culture often lacks. They're simultaneously strong and feminine, independent yet family-oriented, modern in their thinking but grounded in cultural wisdom that spans generations. This isn't about submissive stereotypes that some Western men unfortunately seek, but rather about women who understand the value of partnership, mutual respect, and building something meaningful together rather than just pursuing individual satisfaction. The concept of beauty in Vietnam extends far beyond physical appearance, though it's impossible to ignore the natural elegance that seems effortless among Vietnamese women. There's an emphasis on grace, poise, and taking care of oneself that creates an overall aesthetic that's both sophisticated and approachable. But what really sets Vietnamese women apart is their approach to relationships. They tend to view dating as a pathway to partnership rather than casual entertainment, which can be refreshing for men who are tired of the games and uncertainty that characterize much of Western dating culture. Family values play a huge role in Vietnamese relationships, but this doesn't mean women are looking for someone to take care of them financially. Modern Vietnamese women are highly educated, professionally ambitious, and financially independent. What they value is emotional maturity, stability, and genuine partnership. They appreciate men who understand that supporting each other's dreams and goals is more important than traditional gender roles, but they also value men who can provide emotional security and demonstrate commitment to building a future together. The dating scene varies dramatically between cities like Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi, versus smaller towns and rural areas. In major cities, you'll find women who are cosmopolitan, well-traveled, and comfortable with international dating norms. Many speak excellent English, have studied abroad, and are looking for partners who can match their intellectual curiosity and professional ambitions. These relationships often develop more naturally through shared interests, professional networks, or social activities rather than traditional dating apps or pickup culture. However, cultural differences require genuine understanding and respect. Vietnamese women typically move more slowly in relationships, preferring to build genuine friendship and trust before physical intimacy. This is not playing hard to get. It's a cultural approach that values emotional connection and long-term compatibility over immediate gratification. Western men who approach Vietnamese dating with patience and genuine interest in understanding their partner's perspective tend to build much stronger, more lasting relationships. The expat dating scene in Vietnam has its own unique dynamics. Cities like Ho Chi Minh City and Da Nang have thriving international communities where relationships develop naturally through shared expat experiences, professional networking, and social activities. The nightlife scene includes everything from sophisticated rooftop bars to casual beer gardens where locals and expats mingle freely. But the most meaningful connections often happen through everyday activities: language exchange meetups, cooking classes, volunteer work, or simply being part of the community long enough to form genuine friendships that sometimes develop into something deeper. One aspect that surprises many Western men is how direct Vietnamese women can be about their expectations and intentions. There's less of the ambiguity that characterizes much of Western dating. If a Vietnamese woman is interested in a serious relationship, she'll communicate that clearly. If she's looking for friendship or professional networking, that's equally clear. This directness can be refreshing for men who are tired of trying to decode mixed signals and unclear intentions. The social aspects of dating in Vietnam often involve family much earlier than Western men might expect. But this isn't pressure, it's inclusion. Being invited to family dinners or social gatherings is a sign of acceptance and genuine interest. Vietnamese families are generally warm and welcoming to foreign partners, especially those who show genuine respect for Vietnamese culture and make an effort to learn the language and customs. Language can be both a barrier and a bonding opportunity. Many Vietnamese women speak English well, but learning some Vietnamese demonstrates commitment and respect that's deeply appreciated. The effort to communicate in your partner's native language often creates intimacy and understanding that goes beyond words. Plus, Vietnamese families are incredibly warm toward foreigners who make even basic attempts to speak Vietnamese. It's seen as a sign of respect and genuine interest in being part of the community. The economic dynamics are important to understand honestly. While the cost of living in Vietnam is low, this doesn't mean you should approach relationships with a wealthy foreigner mindset. Many Vietnamese women, especially in major cities, earn good incomes and are financially independent. What they often appreciate about foreign partners isn't financial support, but rather the different perspectives, experiences, and opportunities for growth that international relationships can provide. For men considering serious relationships, it's worth understanding that Vietnamese culture places enormous value on marriage and family stability. Casual dating exists, especially in larger cities, but Vietnamese women who are interested in foreign partners are often looking for someone who shares their values around building a stable, loving family. This doesn't mean rushing into marriage, but it does mean approaching relationships with sincerity and long-term thinking. The nightlife and social scene provide plenty of opportunities to meet people naturally. From sophisticated cocktail bars in District 1 of Ho Chi Minh City to relaxed beer gardens where locals and expats gather every evening, there are countless opportunities for organic social interactions. The key is approaching these situations with genuine interest in cultural exchange and friendship, rather than purely romantic intentions. The most successful relationships often grow from authentic connections based on shared interests and mutual respect. Let's shift gears and explore the incredible festivals and traditions that will give you a front row seat to some of the most vibrant cultural celebrations on the planet. Vietnamese festivals aren't just events you observe. They're immersive experiences that will pull you into the heart of the community and show you aspects of human celebration that have been refined over thousands of years. Tet, the Lunar New Year celebration, transforms the entire country into one massive, joyful family reunion that spans several days and touches every aspect of life. Imagine the excitement of Christmas morning, the togetherness of Thanksgiving, and the hope of New Year's Eve all rolled into one celebration that literally stops the country. The preparation begins weeks in advance, with families cleaning every corner of their homes to welcome good fortune, buying new clothes to symbolize fresh starts, and preparing traditional foods that carry symbolic meaning for prosperity, health, and happiness. The atmosphere during Tet is absolutely magical. Streets that are normally busy with commerce become pedestrian celebrations filled with families in their finest traditional clothing, children receiving lucky money in red envelopes, and the air thick with the aroma of traditional foods being prepared in every household. Peach blossoms in the north and apricot blossoms in the south bloom specifically for Tet, creating a natural decoration that transforms cities into gardens of pink and yellow flowers that seem almost too perfect to be real. What makes Tet special for expats is how quickly you become part of the celebration. Vietnamese families routinely invite foreign friends and neighbors to join their festivities, eager to share their most important cultural traditions with people from other countries. You'll find yourself sitting around tables laden with foods you've never tried, participating in traditional games, and receiving heartfelt wishes for prosperity and happiness in the coming year. The generosity and inclusion you'll experience during Tet will fundamentally change your understanding of what community celebration can look like. The Mid-Autumn Festival brings out Vietnam's artistic soul in ways that will leave you speechless. Picture neighborhoods illuminated by thousands of handmade lanterns in every shape and color imaginable. Dragons, fish, stars, flowers, and abstract designs that cast dancing shadows on ancient buildings. Children parade through streets carrying their lanterns while lion dances perform with acrobatic precision that seems to defy gravity. The festival celebrates the harvest season and family unity, but what you'll experience is pure magic, as entire communities transform into outdoor art installations that rival anything you'd find in the world's most sophisticated museums. But it's not just the major festivals that will captivate you. Vietnamese people have elevated everyday celebrations to an art form. Weddings are multi-day affairs that showcase the incredible hospitality and attention to detail that characterizes Vietnamese culture. Even as a foreign guest, you'll be treated like family, fed until you can barely move, and included in traditions that might be completely foreign but feel deeply meaningful. The combination of ancient rituals with modern celebrations creates ceremonies that are both spiritually significant and joyously fun. Religious festivals at Buddhist temples provide a different kind of cultural immersion. The atmosphere during these celebrations combines spiritual reverence with community celebration in ways that Western religious traditions often struggle to achieve. Incense fills the air. Traditional music creates an almost hypnotic backdrop, and the generosity displayed through shared food and mutual support demonstrates the practical application of Buddhist principles in daily life. Ghost Month, which might sound spooky to Western ears, is actually a beautiful demonstration of Vietnamese respect for ancestors and the continuity between generations. Families prepare elaborate offerings of food, incense, and symbolic gifts for deceased family members, but the atmosphere isn't somber. It's celebratory, honoring the continued presence and influence of ancestors in family life. As a foreigner, you'll be moved by the depth of respect and love that characterizes these traditions, and you might find yourself reflecting on your own relationship with family history and cultural continuity. Village festivals in rural areas provide the most authentic cultural experiences, where traditions have remained largely unchanged for centuries. These celebrations often center around agricultural cycles, local patron saints, or historical events specific to individual communities. The scale might be smaller than city festivals, but the authenticity and community involvement is often more intense. You'll witness traditional crafts, music, and dances that exist nowhere else, performed by people whose families have been preserving these traditions for generations. The food associated with festivals deserves special mention because Vietnamese people have created specific dishes that appear only during certain celebrations, making each festival a unique culinary experience. Tet brings Ban Chung and Ban Tet, rice cakes that take hours to prepare and carry deep symbolic meaning. Mid-Autumn Festival features mooncakes with fillings that range from traditional lotus seed to modern innovations that somehow maintain the spiritual significance of the original. Wedding feasts showcase the absolute pinnacle of Vietnamese culinary artistry, with dishes prepared using techniques and recipes that might be family secrets passed down through generations. What makes Vietnamese festivals particularly special for expats is how they provide natural opportunities to deepen your cultural understanding and community connections. These aren't tourist performances. They're authentic cultural expressions that welcome genuine participation from anyone who approaches them with respect and curiosity. You'll find yourself learning traditional dances, helping with food preparation, and participating in customs that will give you insights into Vietnamese values and worldview that no guidebook could ever convey. The seasonal nature of Vietnamese festivals also helps you develop a deeper appreciation for the natural rhythms of life in Southeast Asia. Unlike Western cultures where celebrations are often divorced from natural cycles, Vietnamese festivals remain closely connected to agricultural seasons, lunar calendars, and the natural world. This connection creates a sense of living in harmony with natural rhythms that can be profoundly grounding for people coming from highly urbanized Western environments. Now let's break down the numbers that make Vietnam so incredibly attractive for budget-conscious expats. Because when we say you can live well on $600 a month, we're not talking about survival mode. We're talking about a lifestyle that includes comfort, entertainment, great food, and enough left over for travel and savings. Housing represents your biggest expense, but even here, the value will make you question everything you thought you knew about rent prices. In Ho Chi Minh City, you can rent a decent one-bedroom apartment in a safe, well-connected neighborhood for between $200 and $300 per month. We're not talking about a cramped studio in a sketchy area. We're talking about actual apartments with separate bedrooms, decent kitchens, and often including utilities like water and trash collection. Move slightly outside the city center, and that same budget gets you significantly more space, maybe a balcony, and neighborhoods that are still well connected by public transportation but feel more residential and peaceful. Hanoi offers even better value in many areas, where $250 can get you a beautiful apartment in neighborhoods that locals consider desirable. Da Nang, with its coastal location and growing expat community, falls somewhere in between, but still offers incredible value compared to coastal cities anywhere in the Western world. If you're willing to live in smaller cities or towns, your housing budget can drop to $150 per month for accommodations that would cost over $1,000 in most Western cities. Food expenses will completely revolutionize your understanding of what it costs to eat well. If you eat primarily local cuisine, which, let's be honest, is so delicious you'll want to anyway, you can easily spend less than $5 per day on food and eat better than people spending $50 per day in expensive Western cities. Breakfast might be a bowl of pho for 60 cents. Lunch could be a banh mi sandwich and fresh fruit juice for $1.50, and dinner might be a full meal with rice, grilled meat or fish, vegetables, and soup for $3. We're talking about fresh, healthy, delicious food that's prepared to order using high-quality ingredients. If you want to occasionally indulge in Western food or upscale restaurants, your food budget might increase to $8 or $10 per day. but you'll still be eating at a level of quality and variety that would cost 3 times as much in most Western cities. The beauty of Vietnam's food scene is that even expensive restaurants are affordable by international standards, so you can enjoy fine dining experiences without blowing your budget. Transportation costs are almost laughably low compared to Western cities. A motorbike rental costs about $50 per month, and if you buy a decent used scooter, it might cost $300 to $500, a one-time expense that gives you complete freedom to explore the country. Fuel costs are minimal. Parking is usually free, and maintenance is incredibly affordable because Vietnam has a massive network of mechanics who can fix anything for a fraction of Western prices. If you prefer not to drive, Grab taxis are everywhere and cost a fraction of Uber prices in Western cities. A ride across Ho Chi Minh City might cost $3, and public buses are available for longer distances at prices that are almost too cheap to believe. You can travel between major cities for less than $10 on comfortable air-conditioned buses. Healthcare deserves special attention because it's both high quality and incredibly affordable. A visit to a private clinic might cost $15, including consultation and basic medications. Dental work that would cost thousands in the US costs hundreds in Vietnam, often with the same or better quality because Vietnamese dentists often train internationally and use modern equipment. Many expats actually save money by flying to Vietnam specifically for medical and dental procedures, even factoring in travel costs. Entertainment and lifestyle expenses allow for a level of enjoyment that would be impossible on a similar budget in most Western countries. Movie tickets cost $3, beer in local bars costs 50 cents to $1, and even upscale cocktail bars rarely charge more than $4 for drinks that would cost $15 in New York or London. Gym memberships, spa treatments, massages, and other lifestyle services are available at prices that make them accessible for daily or weekly use rather than special occasions. Let's talk about the expat testimonials that really bring these numbers to life. Sarah, a digital marketing consultant from Australia, lives in a beautiful apartment in Ho Chi Minh City as District 2 for $280 per month. Her total monthly expenses, including rent, food, transportation, entertainment, and savings, average $750. She reports eating out almost every meal, enjoying regular spa treatments, taking weekend trips to beaches and mountains, and still saving more money than she could when she was earning 3 times as much in Sydney. James, a retired teacher from the UK, lives in Da Nang on a pension that would barely cover basic expenses in Britain. His monthly budget of $800 allows him to live in a beachfront apartment, eat fresh seafood regularly, take Vietnamese language classes, and travel throughout Southeast Asia. He emphasizes that his quality of life has improved dramatically, not just because of the lower costs, but because of the community connections and active lifestyle that his budget enables in Vietnam. The key to making these budgets work is embracing local lifestyle choices rather than trying to recreate Western consumption patterns in a Vietnamese context. Expats who struggle financially in Vietnam are often those who insist on imported foods, Western-style housing, and international entertainment options. Those who thrive are the ones who discover that local alternatives are often superior in quality and always superior in value. One crucial factor that makes these budgets realistic is the social nature of Vietnamese culture, which naturally reduces individual expenses through shared experiences and community support. When entertainment often involves joining local families or friends for shared meals and activities, your social life becomes less expensive and more meaningful than individual entertainment purchases. The seasonal variation in expenses also works in your favor. During Vietnam's dry season, outdoor activities and travel are incredibly affordable, while the rainy season might increase indoor entertainment expenses but also brings lower accommodation prices in tourist areas. Learning to work with these natural rhythms rather than against them can significantly stretch your budget while improving your overall experience. For those concerned about financial security, it's worth noting that many expats find they can maintain their Vietnamese lifestyle while also building savings that would be impossible on similar incomes in Western countries. The combination of low living expenses and potential income from remote work, teaching, or online businesses creates opportunities for financial stability that many people struggle to achieve in higher-cost Western environments. Let's dive into Vietnam's transportation culture, because navigating this country isn't just about getting from point A to point B, it's about participating in a beautifully orchestrated dance of organized chaos that will challenge everything you thought you knew about traffic, efficiency, and urban mobility. The motorbike is Vietnam's great equalizer, the vehicle that democratizes transportation and transforms every street into a flowing river of purposeful motion. Picture this: millions of scooters moving through cities with a fluidity that seems impossible until you witness it firsthand. What looks like chaos to Western eyes is actually a sophisticated system based on predictability, courtesy, and an almost telepathic understanding between drivers. Unlike Western traffic, where cars dominate and create rigid lanes, Vietnamese motorbike traffic flows like water, finding the most efficient path and adapting constantly to changing conditions. Learning to ride a motorbike in Vietnam is like learning to dance with an entire city. The rules are different from Western driving. It's not about right-of-way in the legal sense, but about communication, predictability, and mutual respect. Honking isn't aggressive, it's conversational, a way of saying, "I'm here," or "I'm coming through," or "Thank you for letting me merge." The gentle beep-beep that initially sounds chaotic becomes a symphony of coordination that keeps traffic flowing smoothly even during rush hours that would create gridlock in most Western cities. The parking situation alone will blow your mind. Motorbikes don't need massive parking lots or expensive parking structures. They nestle into spaces between buildings, line up along sidewalks, and fit into corners and gaps that cars could never utilize. This efficient use of urban space means that transportation does not dominate city planning the way it does in car-centric Western cities. Streets remain human-scaled, neighborhoods maintain their character, and the environmental impact per person is dramatically lower than car-dependent cultures. But here's what really makes Vietnamese transportation special. It's incredibly inclusive. A family of 4 can travel together on a single motorbike, with children safely positioned between parents and everyone wearing helmets. Motorbikes carry everything from furniture to livestock to entire mobile businesses. You'll see vendors with their entire restaurant setup balanced expertly on their bikes, traveling between neighborhoods to serve customers wherever demand exists. This isn't poverty. It's ingenuity and efficiency that Western cities are only beginning to appreciate. For longer distances, Vietnam's bus system offers comfort and reliability that rivals first-world public transportation at prices that seem almost fictional. Sleeper buses between major cities feature individual pods with reclining seats, air conditioning, and smooth rides that turn 8-hour journeys into comfortable overnight experiences. The cost? Usually less than $15 for distances that would cost hundreds on flights or trains in Western countries. The train system provides a more romantic way to see the country, with routes that showcase Vietnam's stunning landscapes from the comfort of air-conditioned cars with dining service and sleeping compartments. The journey from Hanoi to Ho Chi Minh City takes you through rice paddies, mountains, coastal areas, and rural villages that you'd never see from an airplane. First-class sleeper cabins cost about $40 and provide a travel experience that's both affordable and memorable. But let's be honest about the learning curve for Western expats. The first few weeks of Vietnamese traffic can be overwhelming, especially if you're coming from countries where traffic rules are rigidly enforced and predictability comes from legal compliance rather than social cooperation. The key is starting slowly, perhaps riding as a passenger first to understand the rhythm and flow, then beginning with quiet neighborhood streets before graduating to busier areas. The community aspect of Vietnamese transportation culture is particularly striking. Motorbike repair shops exist on virtually every street corner, staffed by mechanics who can fix almost anything with basic tools and incredible skill. Parts are readily available and affordable, meaning that breakdowns are minor inconveniences rather than major expenses. The social networks that develop around transportation, regular parking spots, familiar faces on daily commutes, helpful strangers who offer directions or assistance, create connections that make transportation feel like community participation rather than individual burden. Safety deserves serious discussion because Vietnamese traffic, while efficient, does require attention and common sense. Helmets are required and widely used, and defensive driving principles become second nature quickly. The accident rates per mile traveled are actually quite reasonable when you consider the volume of traffic and the integration of multiple vehicle types sharing the same roads. Most accidents that do occur are minor because the speeds are generally lower and the vehicles are smaller than in car-centric cultures. For expats who prefer not to drive, Vietnam's Grab bike and taxi services provide incredibly affordable alternatives. Grab bike rides across major cities rarely cost more than $3, and the drivers are generally skilled professionals who navigate traffic with expertise that ensures safe, efficient travel. Traditional taxis are also affordable and widely available, though many expats find that motorbike taxis are faster and more enjoyable for short to medium distances. The environmental benefits of Vietnam's transportation culture are worth considering, especially for environmentally conscious expats. The fuel efficiency of motorbikes, combined with the high occupancy rates and efficient use of road space, creates a per capita carbon footprint for transportation that's significantly lower than car-dependent Western cities. Many expats find that their environmental impact decreases dramatically when they adopt Vietnamese transportation patterns. The economic implications extend beyond just personal savings. Vietnam's transportation efficiency keeps goods and services affordable because distribution costs are low, delivery times are fast, and the infrastructure requirements are minimal compared to car-centric systems. This efficiency contributes to the overall affordability that makes the $600 lifestyle possible while maintaining high quality of life. Now let's embark on a journey through Vietnam's natural wonders and cultural treasures, because this country offers travel experiences that rival the world's most expensive destinations, all accessible on a budget that makes exploration an everyday possibility rather than a once-in-a-lifetime splurge. Ha Long Bay represents nature's masterpiece of limestone artistry, where thousands of towering karst formations rise from emerald waters like ancient temples built by giants. But here's what the postcards don't tell you. You can experience this UNESCO World Heritage Site for a fraction of what similar natural wonders cost elsewhere in the world. Overnight boat trips that include meals, comfortable accommodations, and guided exploration of caves and floating villages cost around $50 to $70 per person. Compare that to similar experiences in Norway's fjords or Croatia's coast, where equivalent trips cost hundreds of dollars, and you begin to understand the incredible value that Vietnam offers. The boat journey through Ha Long Bay becomes a meditation on geological time and natural beauty. As your vessel winds between limestone pillars that have been sculpted by millions of years of wind and water, you'll discover hidden lagoons accessible only by kayak, caves decorated with stalactites and stalagmites that create natural cathedrals, and floating fishing villages where families have lived on the water for generations. The sunrise and sunset views from the bay create photo opportunities that rival anything in the world's most expensive travel magazines, but you're experiencing them for the cost of a modest dinner back home. Sapa's rice terraces offer a completely different but equally stunning natural experience. Picture mountainsides carved into intricate geometric patterns that seem too perfect to be natural, but are actually the result of centuries of agricultural artistry by ethnic minority communities. The trek through these terraces isn't just sightseeing. It's cultural immersion with local families who invite travelers into their homes, share traditional meals, and provide insights into sustainable farming practices that have maintained these landscapes for generations. The homestay experience in Sapa provides authentic cultural exchange that expensive resort destinations can't match. You'll sleep in traditional houses built using techniques passed down through generations, eat meals prepared with vegetables grown in the very terraces you've been hiking through, and participate in daily activities that connect you directly with local communities. The cost for this immersive cultural experience? Usually around $20 to $30 per day, including accommodation, meals, and guided hiking. The Mekong Delta offers yet another completely different landscape and cultural experience. This vast network of waterways, islands, and floating markets provides a glimpse into Vietnamese life that remains connected to natural rhythms and traditional practices. Boat tours through the Delta take you to fruit orchards where you can sample tropical fruits picked directly from trees, traditional workshops where coconut candy and rice paper are made using centuries-old techniques, and floating markets where commerce happens entirely on water. What makes these Mekong Delta experiences special is their authenticity. These are not tourist recreations of traditional life. They're actual communities continuing practices that have sustained them for generations, and they welcome visitors as guests rather than customers. The boat trips, including meals and multiple stops, typically cost around $20 to $30 per day, providing experiences that are both educational and delicious. But Vietnam's attractions extend far beyond the famous destinations. The coastal areas offer hundreds of miles of beaches that rival anything in Thailand or the Philippines, but with fewer crowds and much lower prices. Phu Quoc Island provides white sand beaches, crystal clear water, fresh seafood, and sunset views that look like professional photography, all accessible for accommodation costs that start around $15 per night for beachfront bungalows. The mountain regions around Dalat offer cool climate, French colonial architecture, and outdoor activities like hiking, cycling, and exploring waterfalls that provide relief from tropical heat. Dalat, year-round, spring-like climate makes it a favorite destination for Vietnamese people seeking respite from coastal humidity, and the abundance of fresh produce, flowers, and outdoor activities creates a destination that feels like a European mountain town, relocated to Southeast Asia. Hidden gems exist throughout Vietnam for travelers willing to venture beyond the standard tourist routes. Phong Nha Ke Bang National Park contains some of the world's largest caves, including Son Tra Cave, which is so massive it has its own weather system and jungle ecosystem. Adventure tours through these caves provide experiences that few travelers ever encounter, but the costs remain incredibly affordable compared to similar adventure tourism in other countries. The ethnic minority villages in northern Vietnam offer cultural experiences that provide insights into traditional ways of life that have largely disappeared elsewhere in Southeast Asia. The Hmong, Dao, and other ethnic communities maintain traditional crafts, clothing, and social structures while welcoming visitors who approach their communities with respect and genuine interest. These visits often include traditional meals, craft demonstrations, and overnight stays that create meaningful cultural exchange rather than superficial tourism. What makes Vietnam's attractions particularly appealing for budget-conscious travelers is the excellent transportation infrastructure that makes it easy and affordable to travel between destinations. The combination of comfortable buses, trains, and domestic flights means you can easily explore multiple regions during a single trip or take regular weekend excursions to different areas if you're living in Vietnam long-term. The food experiences associated with travel in Vietnam often become highlights that rival the natural and cultural attractions. Each region has its own specialties and cooking techniques, meaning that travel becomes a culinary adventure where every destination offers new flavors and dining experiences. From the imperial cuisine of Hue to the fresh seafood of coastal areas to the hearty mountain foods of northern regions, Vietnamese regional cuisine provides educational experiences that happen to be delicious and incredibly affordable. The photography opportunities throughout Vietnam create travel experiences that provide lasting memories and social media content that will make your friends question their own travel choices. The combination of stunning natural landscapes, vibrant cultural activities, and architectural diversity means that every region offers unique visual experiences that capture both the beauty and authenticity of Vietnamese life. Let's address the practical concerns that smart travelers need to consider when contemplating life in Vietnam: safety, healthcare, and education. Because understanding these fundamentals will give you the confidence to make informed decisions about whether this incredible lifestyle is right for you. Personal safety in Vietnam will pleasantly surprise anyone coming from major Western cities, where street crime, violent confrontations, and random attacks have become unfortunate realities of urban living. Vietnamese culture's emphasis on social harmony and community responsibility creates an environment where serious violent crime is remarkably rare, especially in areas where expats typically live and work. Women can walk alone at night in most neighborhoods without the constant vigilance required in many Western cities, and the concept of random street violence is largely foreign to Vietnamese society. However, let's be realistic about the challenges you might encounter. Petty theft exists, particularly in tourist-heavy areas where opportunistic criminals target distracted visitors. The classic motorbike grab-and-run theft can happen, especially if you're walking while using expensive electronics or wearing obvious displays of wealth. But here's the key difference. Vietnamese petty crime is usually non-violent and opportunistic rather than aggressive or confrontational. Following basic common sense, securing your belongings, avoiding obvious displays of wealth, and staying aware of your surroundings virtually eliminates these risks. The scam landscape requires some navigation skills, but the scams themselves are usually more annoying than dangerous. Tourist-targeted overcharging, fake gold jewelry sales, and inflated taxi fares represent the most common issues, but these are easily avoided with basic preparation and local knowledge. Many expats actually find that Vietnamese people are more likely to help protect you from scams than to participate in them, especially once you become a familiar face in your neighborhood. Traffic safety deserves serious attention because navigating Vietnamese roads requires different skills than Western driving. The key insight is that Vietnamese traffic operates on different principles: predictability and communication, rather than rigid rule following. Once you understand these principles and develop the necessary skills, many expats find Vietnamese traffic less stressful than aggressive, high-speed Western traffic patterns. The accident rates for expats who take time to learn proper techniques and wear appropriate safety gear are quite reasonable. Healthcare represents one of Vietnam's most impressive success stories, offering quality medical care at prices that will fundamentally change your understanding of what healthcare should cost. Private hospitals in major cities provide medical services that meet international standards, often with medical professionals who trained in Western countries or international medical schools. A comprehensive health checkup that might cost $800 in the US costs around $100 in Vietnam, often with shorter wait times and more personalized attention. Dental care deserves a special mention because Vietnam has become a destination for dental tourism, attracting patients from around the world who discover they can receive superior care at dramatically lower prices. Complex dental procedures that cost thousands in Western countries cost hundreds in Vietnam, often with faster scheduling, more comfortable facilities, and dentists who spend more time with each patient because their overhead costs allow for less rushed appointments. Emergency medical care is readily available in major cities, with hospitals that have English-speaking staff and modern equipment. Medical evacuation insurance is still recommended for serious emergencies that might require treatment in Singapore or other regional medical centers. But the quality of emergency care available locally is sufficient for most situations that expats might encounter. Prescription medications are widely available and incredibly affordable, often without the bureaucratic hassles that characterize prescription access in many Western countries. Many medications that require prescriptions elsewhere are available over the counter in Vietnam, and the cost savings are dramatic. Medications that cost hundreds of dollars per month in the US often cost $20 to $30 per month in Vietnam. The public health infrastructure handles infectious disease prevention and treatment quite effectively, with vaccination programs and health monitoring that meet international standards. The COVID-19 response demonstrated Vietnam's capability for public health management, and the infrastructure exists to handle other health challenges that might arise. Education options for expat families deserve careful consideration because the choices range from excellent to problematic, depending on your priorities and budget. International schools in major cities provide education that meets Western standards and prepares students for university admission in their home countries. However, these schools are expensive. Tuition often ranges from $8,000 to $15,000 per year, which obviously impacts the low-cost lifestyle that attracts many expats to Vietnam. Local Vietnamese schools provide excellent education, particularly in mathematics and sciences, but instruction is primarily in Vietnamese, making them practical only for families committed to long-term residency and children young enough to become fluent in Vietnamese. Some expat families choose this route and find that their children receive rigorous academic preparation while becoming truly bilingual and bicultural. Homeschooling and online education options work well in Vietnam's infrastructure environment, with reliable internet and affordable tutoring available to supplement parent-directed education. Many expat families create hybrid approaches that combine online curricula with local tutoring, cultural immersion, and travel-based experiential learning that would be impossible to achieve in their home countries. Higher education opportunities include several universities that offer programs in English, and Vietnam's growing economy creates internship and job opportunities for young adults who are comfortable operating in multicultural environments. The combination of low living costs and emerging economic opportunities makes Vietnam an interesting option for young adults seeking international experience without the crushing debt associated with education in many Western countries. The language barrier represents both a challenge and an opportunity in all these areas. Basic Vietnamese language skills dramatically improve your ability to navigate healthcare, understand safety situations, and access educational resources. However, major cities have sufficient English-speaking services to handle most situations that expats encounter, and the international expat community provides networks for sharing information and resources. Community support systems among expats help newcomers navigate these practical challenges more effectively. Established expat communities in cities like Ho Chi Minh City and Da Nang maintain informal networks that share information about reliable healthcare providers, safe neighborhoods, educational options, and practical solutions to common challenges. These communities often become extended families that provide support and advice that makes the practical aspects of expat life much more manageable. The bureaucratic landscape requires patience and sometimes professional assistance, but most expats find that the practical benefits of living in Vietnam far outweigh the administrative hassles. Legal and practical support services are available to help navigate visa requirements, healthcare enrollment, school applications, and other bureaucratic processes that might be challenging for newcomers. Now let's tackle the practical foundation that makes the Vietnamese dream possible: visas, work opportunities, and the bureaucratic realities that determine whether you can actually build a life here. Understanding these logistics isn't just about legal compliance. It's about creating sustainable pathways to the lifestyle we've been exploring. Vietnam's visa situation has evolved significantly in recent years, generally becoming more welcoming to foreign residents while maintaining reasonable oversight. Tourist visas provide the simplest entry point, allowing stays of 15 to 30 days depending on your nationality, with the possibility of extensions through local travel agencies. These visas work well for testing the waters, exploring different cities, and determining whether Vietnam feels like home before committing to longer-term arrangements. For those planning extended stays, the 3-month multiple-entry tourist visa represents the sweet spot of flexibility and affordability. Priced around $25, this visa allows multiple entries and exits, which is perfect for exploring neighboring countries or handling visa runs while establishing your Vietnamese base. Many digital nomads and retirees use this visa type for their first year while determining their long-term strategy. The one-year temporary residence card opens doors to more serious integration into Vietnamese society. This visa requires sponsorship from a Vietnamese company, school, or family member, but it provides the stability needed for signing apartment leases, opening bank accounts, and establishing the kind of community connections that make expat life truly rewarding. The application process involves more paperwork, background checks, health certificates, and document authentication. But many expats find the investment worthwhile for the freedom and stability it provides. Work permits represent the most complex but potentially most rewarding path to Vietnamese residency. Vietnam actively seeks qualified foreign professionals in education, technology, engineering, and business development, but the requirements are specific and strictly enforced. A bachelor's degree is mandatory, along with background checks, health certificates, and often specific experience requirements depending on the field. Teaching English remains the most accessible work opportunity for native speakers, with positions available throughout the country at language centers, international schools, and universities. Salaries range from $800 to $2,000 per month, which provides comfortable living by Vietnamese standards while allowing for significant savings or travel. The demand for qualified English teachers consistently exceeds supply, especially for teachers with proper credentials and professional experience. The digital nomad lifestyle works exceptionally well in Vietnam's infrastructure environment. Reliable internet, abundant co-working spaces, and time zones that align reasonably well with both U.S. and European business hours make Vietnam an ideal base for remote work. Many expats maintain employment with Western companies while enjoying Vietnamese cost of living, though this arrangement requires careful attention to tax obligations in both countries. Entrepreneurial opportunities abound for expats who understand Vietnamese markets and regulations. The growing middle class creates demand for Western-style services, international cuisine, and educational services that present business opportunities for properly prepared entrepreneurs. However, foreign business ownership involves complex regulations that require legal assistance and often Vietnamese business partners. The bureaucratic landscape requires patience and often professional assistance, but it's not insurmountably complex. Document requirements change occasionally, processing times can be unpredictable, and the language barrier makes independent navigation challenging for many expats. However, visa agencies and legal services are widely available and reasonably priced, often making professional assistance more cost-effective than struggling through processes independently. Banking and financial services present both opportunities and challenges for expats. Opening Vietnamese bank accounts requires proper visa status and documentation, but once established, banking services are modern and efficient. International money transfers, while possible, involve fees and regulations that require planning for those maintaining financial obligations in their home countries. Tax obligations require professional advice because the intersection of Vietnamese tax law with your home country's tax requirements can be complex. Many expats find that their overall tax burden decreases significantly, but compliance with both Vietnamese and home country tax laws requires proper planning and documentation. The healthcare visa option provides another pathway for certain expats, particularly retirees who require regular medical care. Vietnam's medical tourism industry has created visa categories that accommodate longer-term stays for health reasons, often with simplified renewal processes. Real estate investment opportunities exist for foreign nationals, though ownership rules are complex and require legal guidance. Many expats find that rental markets provide excellent value without the complications of property ownership, especially given the flexibility that rental arrangements provide for exploring different neighborhoods and cities. Professional networking becomes crucial for expats seeking work opportunities or business partnerships. Cities like Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi have active expat business communities with regular networking events, professional associations, and informal networks that facilitate business development and job opportunities. The legal framework generally protects foreign residents and workers when proper procedures are followed. But it also requires compliance with regulations that may be different from your home country's laws. Legal advice for significant decisions, employment contracts, business arrangements, property deals, represents a wise investment that can prevent costly mistakes. Cultural integration significantly eases bureaucratic processes, because Vietnamese officials and business partners respond positively to foreigners who demonstrate respect for local customs and make efforts to learn the language. Simple gestures like learning basic Vietnamese phrases and understanding proper etiquette often facilitate smoother interactions with government offices and business partners. The expat community itself provides invaluable resources for navigating practical challenges. Online forums, social groups, and informal networks share current information about visa changes, reliable service providers, and practical solutions to common challenges. These communities often become support systems that make the bureaucratic aspects of expat life much more manageable. As we reach the end of this incredible journey through Vietnam's possibilities, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've discovered together. We've explored a country that challenges every assumption about what it costs to live a rich, fulfilling life. And what we found is nothing short of revolutionary. Vietnam isn't just another budget destination where you sacrifice quality for affordability. It's a place where the equation flips entirely, where spending less money actually provides access to experiences, relationships, and lifestyle quality that would be impossible to achieve spending 3 times as much in most Western cities. The $600 lifestyle isn't about deprivation. It's about discovering what truly matters and finding it abundantly available at prices that seem almost too good to be true. Think about what we've uncovered. Streets filled with the most delicious, fresh, healthy food on the planet, available at prices that make eating out more affordable than cooking at home. A transportation system that's efficient, environmentally friendly, and connects you directly with the energy and rhythm of daily life. Natural beauty that rivals the world's most expensive destinations, accessible for weekend trips that cost less than dinner out in major Western cities. Healthcare that's both superior in quality and dramatically lower in cost than what most people accept as normal. But perhaps most importantly, we've discovered a culture that values human connection, community support, and life balance in ways that our hyper-connected, productivity-obsessed Western world has largely forgotten. Vietnamese people have maintained social structures and daily rhythms that prioritize relationships, shared experiences, and present-moment awareness over accumulation and competition. This isn't romanticism. It's a practical approach to human happiness that creates the foundation for the lifestyle value that makes Vietnam so compelling. The women, the festivals, the daily rhythms of market visits and evening gatherings, the genuine warmth extended to foreigners who approach Vietnamese culture with respect and curiosity. These elements combine to create a lifestyle that many expats describe as transformative rather than simply affordable. You don't just save money living in Vietnam, you often discover aspects of yourself and possibilities for happiness that were buried under the stress and expense of Western living. The practical realities we've explored – visas, healthcare, safety, transportation – demonstrate that this isn't a fantasy requiring major sacrifices or dangerous compromises. Vietnam offers legitimate infrastructure, legal protections, and quality services that make expat life comfortable and secure. The challenges that exist are manageable with proper preparation and realistic expectations, and they're far outweighed by the benefits for people whose priorities align with what Vietnam offers. But here's the real question that matters. What would your life look like if your housing cost $250 instead of $2,000? If healthy, delicious meals cost $3 instead of $30? If healthcare was affordable enough to prioritize prevention instead of avoiding treatment? If your daily environment included genuine community connection instead of anonymous urban isolation. If travel and exploration were weekend possibilities instead of once-yearly splurges. These aren't hypothetical questions. They're invitations to imagine a fundamentally different relationship with money, lifestyle, and life satisfaction. Vietnam represents more than just geographic arbitrage. It's an opportunity to test assumptions about what you actually need to be happy and fulfilled, and to discover whether the things you're working so hard to afford in expensive Western cities are actually contributing to or detracting from your overall life satisfaction. The expat testimonials we've explored aren't isolated success stories. They're examples of a larger pattern, where people discover that reducing their expenses dramatically can simultaneously improve their quality of life dramatically. This seems counterintuitive to consumer cultures that equate spending with satisfaction, but it makes perfect sense when you understand what Vietnam actually offers. For digital nomads, retirees, entrepreneurs, teachers, and anyone whose income isn't tied to physical presence in expensive Western cities, Vietnam presents an opportunity to optimize the relationship between income and lifestyle in ways that create both financial security and daily satisfaction. Your dollars, euros, or pounds stretch further, while simultaneously buying access to experiences and community connections that money often can't buy in expensive Western environments. The timing couldn't be better for considering this lifestyle change. Remote work opportunities continue expanding, making location independence more accessible. Vietnam's infrastructure continues improving, making expat life more comfortable and convenient. The global economy makes international money transfers easier and more affordable. And perhaps most importantly, more people are questioning whether the traditional Western approach to work, spending, and lifestyle actually delivers the satisfaction it promises. So here's my challenge to you. If you could maintain or improve your quality of life while dramatically reducing your expenses, would you? If you could wake up every morning in a place where fresh tropical fruit costs pennies, where your neighbors genuinely care about your well-being, where adventure is always just a short motorbike ride away, and where your money gives you freedom instead of stress, would you take that opportunity? Vietnam isn't perfect, and expat life requires adaptability, cultural sensitivity, and realistic expectations. But for people whose values align with community connection, cultural exploration, affordable lifestyle, and genuine life experiences over material accumulation, Vietnam offers possibilities that simply don't exist in most expensive Western environments. The $600 question isn't really about money. It's about priorities, adventure, and the courage to test assumptions about what you actually need to build a life you love. Vietnam is ready when you are. The street vendors are preparing tomorrow's po. The motorbikes are ready for your next adventure. And the community is waiting to welcome another person who's chosen experiences over expenses, connection over consumption, and adventure over comfort zones. What's your next move going to be? Drop a comment and let me know. Are you ready to discover what living well for $600 a month actually looks like? Because Vietnam is waiting, and your new life might be just one plane ticket away.